everybody, and welcome to the Foxhole Dev Stream number 33, if I'm not mistaken.
I told Adam to ask you.
Yeah, it's 33.
Yeah, okay, I double checked. Awesome.
I wrote it down, it doesn't matter anymore.
If you don't know what this is the time that we, some of the development team of Foxhole, get to talk to you guys about some of the things that the community is doing, about how the game is going, what we're gonna do, and you guys got a chance to ask questions to us at the end of the dev stream. First of all, I'm HB. I do a lot of the animations and some technical art thing and UI. To my right, I don't know what side of the screen he is, to be honest.
Stage left.
Yeah, it is Matt. What do you do, Matt?
A bunch of stuff. I'm primarily a level designer, and I do sound and effects, and I write some stuff.
Sounds complicated. To my left, I don't know, again, Adam.
I'm Adam. I'm 1/3 of the frontline modelers, artists, and concept artists.
Oh.
We make everything you see in Foxhole.
Yeah, and I make them move.
Yes.
So anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up. This is our first dev stream after the sale, after the 0.10 update, and
It's important to note that Mark is not here.
oh yeah. So
We do look very similar, but I am not Mark.
yeah, so Mark is dealing with some important stuff. Maybe you guys will be able to hear it sometime, and we're going for PAX later, so he's also preparing for that. That's why he's not with us today, but we have Adam to fill up for him. And I wanted to say thank you for everybody that was in our sale and that helped, and the new players that are coming. It was unbelievable, the reception that we got. People were very happy. The game was filled to the brim. It was really, really nice for us. We were working the whole weekend trying to make sure everything was running smoothly. We understand that there are a little bit of problems, but we are gonna fix that. We're gonna look into that. I want to say a thank you for all the old players that helped the new guys. That was instrumental to show how much we love the community, how much you guys love the game, and how this community can bring the game together as a whole. Like helping training, we had a little new role in our Discord called trainer. Yes, that's the word. Sorry, and it was really cool because it was just given to players that were helping out. And that was really fantastic. I want to say a thank you for all our community helpers.
Oh, yeah.
They did unrelentless job. And particularly also for our moderator team. If you guys don't know, we are a very, very small studio here in Toronto. And we have like barely over 10 people in the whole studio. So all the moderator teams, all the community helpers, they're all players like you guys that decided to step up and try to help everybody else. So they really, it's a thankless job most of the time because they have to do a lot of stuff, but really, really appreciate what they did, and I really appreciate you guys helping bring the community together.
Absolutely.
The community is Foxhole.
Yeah.
So without you guys, there is no Foxhole. So you showed that on the weekend, and you came through, and it was excellent. It was super cool, and I was really proud and impressed of the community.
Yeah, it was sweet.
And I was so moved by a lot of little gestures too. It wasn't just the big gestures of like the moderators, but there was these guys who would just be helping out in any way they can. So like I remember people like going on top of like the monument thing in the hometown and just be like, okay, if you're new, go to the left for hours. And then people would yell at them and like, my goodness, like I wanted to give them a hug type of thing. It was amazing to see it, and really Foxhole couldn't be made without you.
Oh, absolutely not. Like, there's not even a
Not even a question, yeah. We don't do anything here. It's
you guys. That's the whole concept of the game after all. No, it was really cool. The sale was fantastic. The update went better than we expected. We, all in all together. Sure, there are problems. We understand that there are things that need to be fixed. We're gonna talk a little bit about what's gonna happen on the game from now on, later on in the dev stream. So usually, just so you guys know, if you're new to this, what we usually do in this dev stream is that we talk a little bit about what our community did. Usually we do a little snippets of something that's called the community highlights, which is like we pick up all the fan arts and writings and music and videos that you guys did on YouTube, and we make a blog post, and I then choose a couple of them just to highlight some of the cool things that we saw during the past 2 weeks. Then we go into the development update, in which we talk about what's coming up for the game, what's coming up for as new features, and what are we working on. And last, we always have a Q&A at the very end of the stream. This one, because Mark is not here, we decided, you know what, we already changed the setting, we are back to the couch. If you're very, very old.
Dad's not home, we can do whatever we want.
But so we have the opportunity right now to actually make a little bit of a different stream because of what happened during the weekend. We decided this is going to be slightly different. We're going to be first talking about what is Foxhole, because if there are a lot of new players, we got a lot. First of all, also cool, we got a milestone on our Discord.
Right.
Yeah, we got 50,000 members on our Discord, which is unbelievable.
That's a ridiculous, for some reason, and I'm not going to complain at all, Foxhole is one of the largest Discords, which is really humbling.
Yeah, it's proven, right? Like we actually have, we're one of the top 5 Discords. It is insane.
No,
it doesn't make sense.
No, it
but
doesn't.
for the compared to some other games out there, but who cares? It's
Yeah.
awesome.
No,
really,
it's super
really
amazing. Super amazing.
So because we have some new players that might even be still unfamiliar with what Foxhole is or what Foxhole is trying to be in the future, we're gonna talk a little bit about what Foxhole is. That's gonna be the first part, and then after that we're gonna reveal what are the art winners, the art contest winners, because we had a contest running for about 2 months, I would say. Yeah. And we finally got the winners of it, and we're gonna go into that, and then after that we will do the Q&A. So this is a little bit different than what we usually do, but we will have at least a Q&A part in which we can talk. You guys can just ask questions on the stream, and we will try our best to answer them.
One of the last things I just want to say about the Discord stuff is that for Foxhole, Discord has been instrumental to the game.
Sorry.
to the game and where we're at, and bringing the community together. Mark always says Foxhole lives on Discord because we use it since day one when Discord was still kind of in its infancy.
Absolutely.
And we use it now just to the same effect, and I think it shows with how much we use it. And we're a Discord partner and all that stuff, so I think it's really, really cool to see so many people.
Not only that, we actually use it for in-house communication.
Yes.
It's not just the community. Foxhole's made with Discord. We're not paid by Discord.
We do have a really good relationship with them. They are so helpful to us. So thank you for all the Discord developers as well, actually, because without them, it would be much harder.
Absolutely.
And we wouldn't have the community that we have right now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, want to talk a little bit about Foxhole.
Absolutely. What is Foxhole, HB?
Oh my God, I'm glad you asked.
So just to put it in perspective, I know a lot of you guys have been playing Foxhole for 2 years, but this is just, we have a lot of new players. We want to go over what the game is, what the goal is, especially now that 0.10 is out, 0.10.
Point
What did we say?
10.
0.10.
0.10.
0.10 is out, so it changed the game dramatically. Let's just kind of recap where we're at and take it away.
Sure. What is Foxhole? This is something that I would like to highlight, not just for the new players, but also for the older players, because moving forward, since this new foundation has been laid with World Conquest, I think it's very important that we all kind of get on the same page as to what is the direction of the game, what is the game we're trying to make, and when we make decisions, why do we make those decisions? So I think it's very important, not just for the new guys, but also for the old guys. So Foxhole primarily is an MMORPG. It's a sandbox war game. So in which a small, very basic set of tools that are given to the player, but it kind of leaves it open for the player to do whatever they want in the game. Players are the content of that war. When I say that they are the content, that means they decide all the strategies, they make all the bullets, they participate in all the fun events that happen. Everything that happens is because of the players. The environment, the world, the weapons, the tanks are all just a backdrop for the players to kind of explore. And that is the fundamental principle of Foxhole, is a sandbox game in which players are allowed to do what they want. So let's keep moving. Our vision for the game, and this is very key to kind of our goals, what we want, what we imagine Foxhole to be in the beginning, and stop me at any point if I'm derailing it, but it's a large number of players working together, that the player has a very, very particular way of, changing the world. They could leave a mark in the world. I always used to say, I think you guys remember at the beginning of the project, that even like a footprint in the world is kind of a microcosm of your impact as a whole. Like you can leave a mark in this world. That's what we're working towards. Long-term planning over short-term planning. So this idea that the general type character, the guy role-playing as a person who's a captain or making decisions, a commander, they're rewarded with these huge payoffs. This is what we want to work towards. It's not just those small 3-person skirmishes or like just the guys going in the back lines. It's the guys controlling everything on the macro level. We want to really lay into that, to that detail of the game. Something that I wish more games had, actually.
Yeah, and to top it all, this vision is the whole reason why we decided to make this huge change on the game with 0.10. The idea of having this one world that is connected. We are very, very excited about the concept of being able to explore that, to make sure that the skirmishes will be part of the world conquest and they will feed into each other, so that there's this record of war that when you do something on one war, like that takes time. It's not a 15-minute session of play that gets wiped like a match on a different game. Like it might be a team game, but like I don't know if you play Battlefield, like it's a shorter match that gets wiped. It's cool. It's a different kind of game. Like we want our whole wars to be impactful, and this is what we're gearing forward. This is the reason why we did these changes that we did, and why now the skirmishes are in the same map as the world conquest.
Yeah.
So they will feed into each other, and there's this feedback loop between each other.
I think that there's something I do want to highlight here, and it's a little bit of derailing, but we're talking about fostering a community, building a community around that major feature in the game. When I like to discuss Foxhole, I like to think of Foxhole as a genre of a game. It's not just one game. What I mean by that is like this is our attempt at scratching the surface of a new genre of game. In the same, we always use the example of Rome, the Total War games. They made these games that were these. They always had this vision that like, wouldn't it be amazing if thousands of units could be controlled by one player? And after 20 years, the Total War games they have realized that dream. So why I want to highlight, our vision as a company and who we are as a company. What we want to do is make a game in which thousands of people can compete in one war. They have a lasting impact. So Foxhole may be the first step towards that, but this is something that you guys have kind of bought into. If you're watching the stream, you're a little bit more you're a little bit more involved. But like this is something that we get excited about, and I want you guys to be excited about. If you can see the potential of this genre of game, my goodness, we have like an amazing ride. It's going to be an amazing thing. And the fact that we have 50,000 Discord members is just testament that like people want this. It's not like, oh, we did something like we found the golden egg. It's like people want this game like we wanted it to be made as a kid.
Yeah.
And we want to make the best version of it possible.
Absolutely.
And that's something that like we talk about week in, week out on these streams is like we want it to be good, and we're going to continue to try to make it good. And that's what like a lot of people wondered like what we were kind of doing behind the scenes over the last couple months, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. We want it to be good. We're going to continue to make it good, just to kind of cap that point off. Is we're not going to leave it in some like state that you feel like is unfinished. We're going to continue.
We're going to try our best to go to all the way, and that's exactly what leads to the next part. Is that what are the principles that guide us when we're doing this when we're developing the game? What are the things that bring us? Like we have this table that we're showing to you this time right now. It's something that I don't know if you guys probably haven't seen before. This is actually an internal little table that we use ever since the first meeting from talking about Foxhole and what the game is going to be. so you understand what are the principles that guide the game when we're making any decisions.
Yeah.
The idea, I'm gonna go very quickly over it because you guys can read it on the screen. The idea that there's more player agency than player mastery, that you have to find ways to do it instead of like just mastering like one way to abuse a rule.
Yeah.
The idea that you can always work together, like the co-op versus the solo experience. Yes, you can work solo, but the game was built to be this how do I say, this community event, you know, this unsurmountable task that you can only do when you're not alone, when you're working with somebody else. Even if you are doing something alone, is always for the benefit of everybody else, to make sure that your faction as a whole gets to the end of the war. We always like this that what you do can be open. That's where the sandbags come from. Like when the organic consequences are more interesting for us than like artificial consequences.
May I?
Yeah.
Something on this I think is very important. Is why I wanted to put it into this slide. It's not that there is no player mastery or accessibility and there is no solo play in the game. Is that when we are making a decision, we are comparing the decision to this. What we want is that more player agency, more co-op experience. So I like to look at our company, and we talked about this a lot over the years that we've been working on it, is that we're servants of Foxhole. Like we're serving to make the game that it deserves to be, as opposed to people who have this like grand plan that it needs to be like this, and we're going to scheme and ultimately we're going to make it free to play and make money, or whatever the scheme is that people think. It's like, no, we're servants of this idea of what it could be, this potential.
What the game is.
Yeah, what the game is. So like in the end, we're finding that we have to go back to this table and we have to keep, reassessing why we're making this decision. And it keeps us humble a bit. It's like, we can't just do whatever we want. Some things are better for Foxhole and some things are better for other games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As you said, it's hard to not fall into like all of these categories at some way, shape, or form. We have magical consequences the same way that we have organic consequences. We are bound to the theme of the war, but we focus on the gameplay first. It's a balance act. It's a balancing act all the time. And I agree with you when we say that we want to we want to do the best game that we can, following this framework, following these guidelines, and we truly believe that by what we did on 0.10, we are going to that direction where we're following that principle.
Yeah, and I mean, we've always promised a persistent world.
We're finally getting there.
We finally scratched the surface.
Yeah.
This is the beginning.
Yeah, like this is the beginning of something very exciting.
Oh yeah, by the way, I don't know, there might be people that are still confused. Like I actually got this message a couple of times, particularly during this weekend when we have new players. Foxhole is still in alpha. We're actively developing Foxhole and making changes to the game. I know you guys want more content. I know you guys want more tanks and weapons and costumes and emotes, which I also would love to have. But we are getting there. We're working towards that. There's clear development that still has to be done. And we're talking about this right now because of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the future, what is coming like more after we announce the winners of the art contest.
So to your point as well, though, Mark always likes to say, stuff like uniforms and weapons and tanks and things like that, that's relatively simple to do compared to creating a single persistent world. And once we have that foundation, it's like if you're familiar with process of art, it's like a sketch before you do a painting.
Yeah.
We've got the sketch, and now we need to finish
develop,
the painting and get all the.
We just changed the foundation of the
Exactly.
game.
Or a building.
Now we gotta
We've
build
got a
the
foundation. I could come up with 20 other metaphors, but
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sure you. All right, let's move on.
Cool. So we're gonna start. We're gonna talk about the Foxhole Art Contest winners. And first and foremost, thank you very, very much for everybody that sent submissions. It was a blast to look through all of them, to read them.
Oh yes.
It was like really, really, and it was really humbling that people would spend the time just to like actually do them, and we had some pretty tough decisions to make.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna announce all the winners, but we're also gonna, in the dev post that is gonna come later on today, in which you'll be able to read all the entries and see all the images. We're also gonna spotlight some of the other ones that unfortunately didn't make to the top 3.
Can you explain the rating process as well?
Yes. Okay. So here's how it goes. The Foxhole contest was divided into 2 different parts.
Categories.
Categories. That's the word I was looking for. English is hard, man. The first one, one of them was the visual art. So it was an image that would depict a moment in Foxhole that was tied to the lore in some way, shape, or form. Was tied to the game. It was an original piece of art. It didn't matter what was the media used, but in the end it was like this one image. So unfortunately this time we're not doing animations or things like that. And the other part was the written. It was also like a short. It had to be a short story that had some requirements as to size, and so actually there was one person that had to be disclassified because it was too long. Apologies for that, but. And it was also, again, it had to be inserted in the Foxhole. It could be made up, it could be fanfic, it could be something based on what we already had, it could be based on gameplay, but it had to do with the lore, and the more you could integrate that into an original, interesting story was more important. So we had 3 winners for each category, from 3rd place to 1st place on each one of them. Each one of the winners will receive a little care package from us. But we also have one overall winner that can reach both categories for either from the art, either from the written, and that person, besides the care package, will also have the opportunity to work with us to develop, particularly with Matt, most likely to develop a little bit more of the lore of the game. So something that this person creates will actually live in Foxhole forever, which is, I don't know, kind of cool.
Very cool. I need to say something. This is so surreal, the fact that people want to make something based on something that you work on. Like, isn't it the most we're a bunch of artists. This has been our dream since we started making games. Like, hey, wouldn't it be amazing if there was...
To be fair, this is the kind of stuff that I do on my free time. Now I don't have much more time to do, but I used to do when I was a little bit younger as well. Like, do fan art of other stuff.
Yeah, it's surreal to have this.
Yeah,
let's go ahead
anyway,
before we keep going.
Let's get this party rocking.
We're very cool people.
I know.
We're gonna do the written category first.
We're gonna start with the written category. We're gonna start with the 3rd place, and the 3rd place is
Award and Victory.
Award and Victory. That was a really, really cool piece of writing. It was really funny. There are some some punches, just some things that happen in game.
We can't.
We don't really spoil the stories, but like anybody who's familiar with Foxhole, I think will really
dig this one.
Out of this one.
So thank you very much for Ageha. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I already.
Makiaki.
Yeah, Makiaki. Oh, you put it in there.
I accidentally put it in the top left corner. I'm so sorry. We'll skip to the next one.
The next one, the 2nd place on the written category is Hatch by Callum Walker.
I love this story actually. It was basically a little vignette, a very small scene. Instead of like it being like a description of a huge battle, it's a very small scene of like a few soldiers. And to me, this has been my experience in Foxhole. It's like been the one-off experience with me and one buddy. I don't know. I just love the story.
So this story in particular, like, reads like a movie.
Yeah.
Which
like a short movie or something. Yeah.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons I like. It's a thing that like if Foxhole was like turned into like a short film, I feel like this would make a really good basis for its script.
I was really engrossed by it. I gotta say, like, actually, this is one of the ones that most like got me. Like, oh, this is not like from halfway to the end. I was like, holy shit, what's gonna happen? You know?
Yeah. Did you notice though that all the written entries really kind of captured the bleakness of it? Like,
yes.
Like they really understood what Foxhole was. It wasn't like some war's great.
So like even the funny ones, like Award and Victory is kind of humorous.
Yeah.
It was it all got the idea that like there's a cost to war, which is something that like from everything we do with Foxhole from the like writing perspective, the lore perspective, does try to communicate that like war is not like a glorified thing.
Yeah.
And I think every single piece of writing nailed that, which was surprising because usually that doesn't happen. But
no, I was making some like fan fiction. Anyways, let's keep
Self-insertion.
going. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, first place, and the one I want is A Fire Remember.
The Fire.
The Fire Remember. I'm sorry, by Marine Burnett.
Fantastic. I remember you talking a lot about this one.
Oh, I was gung-ho about this
Yeah.
one. I really, really, really love this one. Honestly, it was compelling from the beginning to the end. I remember I was reading like at the first lines. I was like, "Oh, okay, this is cool. I don't know what's going on." The way it was like the characters were portrayed, the way they talked to each other was very natural, and it felt like the really beginning, like a little house in a Foxhole world when they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
They're dealing with what the war is and the consequences of it. I like the ending of this one. I think it's a really sweet one. It's really well written. I was really, really, really blown away.
Well, it seems to me like they kind of scratch at like what Foxhole could be in the lore. It expands on the Foxhole universe as opposed to not just describing, because that's fine, but they took liberties and said, okay, knowing this, seeing the trajectory of Foxhole, it could be this.
Yes.
It could be bigger. What's behind the scenes?
There are limitations with what we're able to do in the game right now in terms of like the storytelling part of it. Like it's basically like old notes and journals and stuff.
Yeah.
So like with this, it's like, okay, here's an opportunity. Like the best pieces, they took what exists in Foxhole and imagined adding something that like is really like appropriate.
Yeah.
And this is a great example of that. And I think it's like if Foxhole were a book or like a longer piece of fiction, this is the type of thing I would expect to see.
Absolutely, it was really good. If you guys, we will be able to read them all in its entirety. We will be posting again later tonight, most likely, a blog post in which we'll be able to read them fully and see all the winners and again some other couple highlighted ones that unfortunately didn't make it, but they were also pretty good. There were some pretty nice ones.
And for the winners and collecting your prizes and getting information, we'll deal with that later. We'll figure out exactly.
Yeah, we will get in contact. We'll try our best to make sure that
and keep it private.
And keep it private, exactly.
Let's go to the visual art link.
So
we're a bunch of visual artists, so this was like really really exciting.
This is like half the art team.
Yes.
Third place. This is so. Can you turn off
the
camera for them, because I think they deserve.
Wardens in the Sky.
Wardens in the Sky by Vividly.
Should I go back and show the whole thing? There you go.
Look at this one. It is so damn well done.
Okay, the thing about this one, we had a lot of difficulty with the visual ones, and I think we kind of didn't know what position things should be in. I fought a lot on this one in particular because I remember looking at this image and knowing exactly where it was in the world. Like, to me, it's like Upper Heartlands. Like, I knew what it was, I knew its location, and I know, like, Colonial Scout Vehicle. These things here really kind of made it very appropriate. And this is kind of, 90% of the game for me, I play logistics. It was me driving on roads. so like, all right, this is Foxhole for me. That was at least my opinion of it.
Yeah, no, I like this one. It's like the colonials are like fleeing like a warden invasion. It's very nice.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, and it's execution wise,
yeah,
it's really well done.
Yeah. I think there was a GIF too he sent just for fun of like it raining.
Oh yeah, it looks so cool. Yeah.
We should have rain in the game. But this is clearly Upper Heartlands, and it's really cool. It's really cool for me to see. As like so far the only person who's really like built the maps. Like it's really cool for me to see these places I've imagined from the top-down perspective in like a more like detailed setting. That's always really like a treat for me whenever anybody does stuff like that. And like when Julian does concept art and I get to see it, and then like this reminds me of that. So like I think it's as good if not better than some of the concepts we have in terms.
Yeah, Julian, start working harder.
Anyway, second place. Look at this one.
Last Warden standing.
João Henrique Lemos, so good.
I love this piece.
This one, I know that some people have misgivings about pixel art and whatever. I loved it. I thought just like the little, like the way he does, like he did the shifting from one color to another. It is like a battle scene. It looks so sick in my opinion.
I totally see this panning. It's like an old. Someone was saying like a book cover art, but I imagine it's like an old NES like intro.
Like
and it kind of
slowly
pans up,
panning,
and then it like fades in the logo and it just says Foxhole or something. I totally see
In
that.
pixel art.
In pixel art. Yeah. No, it's just a really aesthetic piece. Like we all saw it and we're like, I can't believe this is fan art for our game. We're like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, this one caught my eye like right away. It's like immediately like eye catching, and I think one of the coolest things is it looks like an old like LucasArts game.
Yeah.
Like a Sierra?
Like Sierra, LucasArts, that type of thing, but like with a modern like digital palette.
Oh my!
So
You remember a game called The Dig?
yeah.
You remember like something like that? If you see those embers flying, that would be exactly like it.
Yeah,
I want to see this animated fully. That's
Yeah,
all I want.
we were saying like the limited animation of like the shots.
Yeah.
Like, nobody can see me because there's
And
no
like
camera.
one bullet.
Yeah, like the bullet casing flying with smoke behind. Like that's what I imagine like is next after this shot. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
super
really
super cool.
Alright, so we
And
go to the
then-
next one. The first
And then
place.
First place,
Charge by Tony. How do you say it? Cesar.
Tony Cesar.
Cesar.
Caesar? I don't know. I'm sorry if
You're
you're
the best. It doesn't matter.
It was really, really, really cool. Look,
I love this piece.
composition, colors. It picks a moment in Foxhole. It picks like the battle, like them fighting each other. Like it's so inserted in what Foxhole is at some points. Like sure, I think that like the first one, Wardens in the Sky, like the third place, Wardens in the Sky, has it's more of a picture of like the logistics aspect of Foxhole and
Like more the calm.
the calm. This is a picture of what the battles can become when it's like 30 versus 30, 40 versus 40. Like the insanity that is like just people running and trying to bang at each other. You run out of rifle bullets and then you pick up your pistol. It is really nicely done.
I remember when Crazy Flying Chicken linked it into our Discord, and it was like late at night. Everyone's like, "What? What? Like, did we make this? When did this happen?" I love it. All the guys are like huge and pissed, and they're sweet, and they've been through hell, and it's amazing. The explosions, the tanks.
The muzzle flashes
I
are
love
just like
it.
these epic like.
I love it.
Yeah, it's cool.
It makes me
Color,
excited.
the lighting in this one is so nice.
Yeah, it's just a really strong piece. I don't think I can add anything more
No.
than just seeing it. It's
It
just really
was.
strong.
I think it's a rightly deserved first place.
Yeah.
It looks the part. It fits in the game, and
It encapsulates a moment unlike any of the other pieces we received. I think.
yeah.
And it's
In a
like,
different way. It's a different attention. It's
Yeah.
a different attention, I think.
Yeah.
So we go to the overall winner.
And yes, so,
yeah. So now we have one overall winner who
So-
we feel I suppose added the most to like brought the most to the table. I think.
yeah.
Shall I go to it?
Yeah.
That's not it. Here we are.
It's in writing category,
It's writing.
and it's Patchouli with Pickers.
Pickers by Patchouli.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to go and read this because when I was reading it, I thought like, holy crap, this is like something I want to add to the game. like I was like, this is what I was thinking about sometimes when we talk about like who are the people that live in Foxhole, and I don't really want to spoil too much, but that's why it really like appealed to me personally.
Yeah, though the integration with the lore, not particular parts of it, but even so, but just like the overall lore that is running through the game in this piece I think is one of the best. The way you use all the little hints that you see on throughout the maps to create this very believable backstory. It was just really, really well done. I think that's the reason why it's the overall winner, is because it kind of encapsulates everything that we wanted from this whole contest, which was like, is this a moment in Foxhole? Can you work with what you have in the game to bring up something more, to create something new based on what we are trying to provide? And
I think
to the point that it blew us
Yeah,
away
exactly.
is I think is like one of the utmost like things that you can say about it.
Absolutely. I think he has a better understanding of lore than I do. And I don't mean that in like he really understands Foxhole.
Yeah.
He or she, I actually don't know. I'm sorry.
But sure, yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure, but they really understand Foxhole.
Yeah.
They really get it, and I can't say it. Like, just read the thing. It's really great. It's really excellent. And congratulations to all the winners. Honestly, you guys did an amazing job. We were totally blown away that anyone even submitted anything. So the fact that it was so high quality too was really like, oh.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this a little bit because this is our first fan art contest like that we ever made in the history of this company.
Any of us. Yeah.
Like we had like no experience, so we were afraid that at some point we were gonna have like one submission.
Yeah, like, why did we choose 7 winners? Like, uh-oh.
For a little bit, it was a very slow trickle, and then all of a sudden they got dumped.
Yeah.
Because obviously you get closer to the date. And
It's like school. No one hands in assignments way before the date. And let's shall we?
Yeah, so we might actually do a second eventually.
Oh,
we might change and make it better. But overall, congratulations to all the ones that submitted, and particularly congratulations to all the winners. It was awesome. It was so cool.
Well deserved.
And congratulations to Patchouli as the overall winner.
You get to work with Matt.
Maybe depends on what we want to do. So.
Yeah, we'll figure out exactly what that is.
But I'm excited about to let everybody read that story because
Yeah.
it was. And look at all the art, and we're also gonna do, like HB said, just a little feature of some of the stuff that didn't make it into the top 6.
Oh, yeah, if you were not one of the winners, don't feel discouraged or anything like that because it was a tough choice. It really was. Like there was some of like amazing art that were like maybe some people don't vote, like it didn't get all the votes, but they are still amazing.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to portray some of these ones that really made us fight.
You're choosing which kid you love best.
Yeah. Well, I know
You gotta choose one.
Yeah, of course.
Just like in
right?
real life. Let's just continue on.
Let's
PAX. I want to talk about PAX. We're going to PAX next week, April 5th, 8th. It will be me, Crazy Flying Chicken, and Mark Foot.
Next week?
2 weeks.
Okay.
2 weeks at booth 21115. That is our booth. Come and visit us. We would love to see you, especially the old community guys. Our attention at PAX is really spent with the community. We really want to see the community. We want to get to know the community more than it is like showing off the game. Like, it's too hard to show the game, I think. As a little
small environment, yeah.
So we're changing the booth up a little bit this year. We're gonna what we want to do is spend more time with the community. So feel free to come by. And if you are coming, please contact Crazy Flying Chicken. I added his contact information there.
on Discord.
Yes. On Discord, yes.
Yeah.
And we want to meet up with you. We like to do like little like get-togethers in the evenings. We wanted to do like a LAN event where maybe we go to the computer lab and play like a LAN together. And
Yeah, if you're of age, we can maybe get a beer or so.
absolutely.
If you're underage, you get to drink lemonade, I guess.
Absolutely. You can watch us drink. This is the time to talk to Mark Foot directly. He's a very
All those burning questions that you always wanted to see.
Absolutely. Well, and I just love talking about the game.
Yeah.
PAX is an amazing atmosphere. Unfortunately, not all of us can go because I know HB and Matt really like going to these shows.
Last one was awesome.
But please do come out. Really come and talk to us. Spend the weekend with us. It'll be great.
It's gonna be Adam, Crazy Flying Chicken, and Mark Foot, by the way.
Yeah.
In case.
Oh, and also Alcaz might be there
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
Nuba.
So if you, I'm pretty sure that he will be there as well. So if you guys haven't met Nuba, or if you guys remember this couch, you might remember Nuba.
Yeah, because he used to be on the stream.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we had this couch for the first 5 streams or whatever, Nuba was there too.
Yeah.
All right.
So he's gonna be there as well.
Come visit us at PAX, please.
It's awesome. It's gonna be cool.
All right. Let's go on to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. So usually at this point on the dev stream, actually a little bit, we are running a little bit ahead, but usually at this point on dev stream we talk about new features coming to the game. Today is going to be slightly different. We are not going to talk about new features, so apologies for anybody that was expecting that, but we're going to be talking a little bit about the future of the game and what we plan to do moving forward from what you guys seen during the weekend and during after the 0.10 update.
Yes.
So the first thing is the future of Foxhole. I got to remind everybody that Foxhole is still in alpha, so that means that we are developing it. What we want to do right now, and we already started working. I think one of the main things is to make skirmishes more meaningful. We always said that we wanted to integrate skirmishes into the world conquest as a whole, to make the one world vision come alive. So we're working on making skirmishes have a reason to exist. Having them in the same map and having them show up in the monuments, and that's, if you don't know what the monuments are, is they're after every war, so after a world conquest is finished, we're gonna tally up all the conquests, the winner of the conquest and the winner of the majority of the skirmishes. And depending on if you won both of them, you get a monument in your hometown, and there's a war record there, and you can look where you stand there. If you won only one of them, you get a different monument, and that's really just the first thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like to have this war record in place. But we want to make sure that the skirmishes, they can influence in one way, shape, or form what happens in World Conquest. So they're not this offshoot.
Yeah, it's like a
mode.
side mode or something.
No, it's like it's integrated. You get to choose which one you like the best to help the war effort. And I think that's one of the main goals right now.
Yeah.
We also want to make the player profiles more robust. We want to make sure that you see more things about yourself, and you can change, and you see maybe our approach. Permanency, yeah. It's some make sure that you feel like you lived in this world, and there's some history behind the character that you're playing as. As a technical thing, the queues, we want to make sure that they are not as insane. We had some pretty long queues. It was much mitigated by other factors that we started to introduce. If you were able to get into a different region and then travel from the in-game, it was much more manageable. But still, we know that we had pretty long queues in the game, and we know it's a problem. So we really want to make sure that doesn't happen again, at least not to the same extent. We want to make sure that if you are in a queue, it's easier for you to understand where you are in the queue, and if you are in the queue, you don't stay as long, you know. So we want to work on that as well. We know that was a problem that we had in the World Conquest, and we're definitely gonna look into that.
It's also without a huge influx of players, so
Yeah.
So that also was something that we weren't 100% expecting.
Yeah, it went above our
We
expectations.
were expecting a little bit, but it went way above our expectations. So thus the queues were as full as possible. But
I did forget something on this list that I do want to highlight. I think there's two things. One is that we want to spend some time really making the game stable. In terms of bug fixes, making things feel right, as well as gathering data. Right now, this is our first real live World Conquest. What does it mean? Like, we need to really, we can't jump to conclusions yet.
This is the first one.
Yeah, we need to settle.
Yeah.
And I guess we should talk a little bit about how often we update the game. So, like, I'm sure people are like, when is any of this coming? How often do we update the game?
Yeah. So, of course, it depends on some factors. We can't say for sure, but at the moment that we are right now, usually between 3 and 4 weeks between each update is the most expected. We are trying to we used to have a very, very short update period. Literally every week. We went to 2 weeks.
Rough.
We went to 2 weeks period cycles, and then 3 weeks, and now we're gravitating between 3 and 4 weeks. But having that in mind, with what we had in this World Conquest, expect to see tiny updates come quicker. We want, like, the most blatant problems, we're gonna try to fix them a little bit quicker, so they might not be as big right in the beginning. Like right now, we're gonna try to fix something a little bit quicker. You might see just a client patch, something that is small that you might not even notice that is updating. It doesn't even require like a whole change list or anything like that for you guys to read. But big updates, I would say, with like lots of content, between 3 and 4 weeks in between updates is usually our time. Right now, we're gonna try to make them a little bit quicker to fix some of these glaring problems.
Yes. So, go ahead,
I was just going to say, to be clear as well, I say this almost every week, I say this to people on the team, and I'm going to say it again. Our game is in early access because it is in development. not because we want to like put a couple shrines of polish before it goes live.
Yeah.
So like some stuff right now is like even in the game now is sort of in a more unfinished state. Like for instance, Morin County is a map that's going to get a huge polish pass the next update. So like those types of things you will see. So that's why we act a little faster.
Yeah.
Because we do put things in that are not like at 100% polish.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing that it's in the near future is the game balance, and we want to make sure that that's okay. We want to make sure that like we have like the teams are balanced. It's harder for you to have like a huge, like if you have like a difference in players from one side to another, that's not as meaningful. Like it's important to have more players, but it shouldn't be a death sentence for you to have a little bit less players. That being said, that's like kind of like the far future. What we want is to continue working on this foundation of having this one world, having everything work cohesively. So that's the path from now on. Everything that we do will be geared toward that. That includes all the polish and game balances and touch and feel and UI and first time user experience and make sure.
Can I make it? I just want to add something. When you were saying all those things there, I want to just let you know, as developers, we feel the lack of touch and feel and polish and like, oh, why can't it just work like this? I think we feel it more than the players because we know how much and how good the game can be given the time, because we can actually do it. So the things like overall user experience, tutorials, UI, touch and feel,
we know it's lacking.
We know it's lacking. We're excited about it being more.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this requires us to be patient, not even just the fans. Like, we need to be patient because the foundation needs to come first.
Yeah.
We got World Conquest in, great.
Just got it.
Just got it in. So now we're going to start adding on big meat and potato type of things. And anything beyond that, like the touch and the feel,
is
super important. It's the season. It's the season. It's the taste. I'm so excited about adding that stuff into the game. I can't wait. I'm really excited.
And something that I'm seeing come up a lot in chat, which I just want to mention because I think there's a lot of new players. And, it seems like the vets are also like sort of like calming the new players a little bit in this regard. Like people keep saying increase the player limit, and like if that was something we could do to just like hit a button and like increase the player limit, it would be done already.
No, I want imaginary walls on the borders.
Yeah. To be fair, just so you guys understand the history, our first prototype was a 20 versus 20 combat prototype. That was about a year or so ago, a little bit more than a year ago actually.
2 years ago.
2 years already?
Yes,
Jesus,
it's been a while.
God damn Christ. So we've been slowly raising the player cap as we make the game more there's a lot of technical reasons. That's I'm not gonna bullshit anybody, sorry for the language. There's a lot of technical reasons why it's harder to just increase the player limit. There's a lot of ideas that float around, like, oh, why don't you do this with the map and like some stream, like there are technical reasons. We usually the developers, the programmers, they are fantastic. They know what they're doing a lot, and they research a lot, and they are researching ways to make it better. So this whole how can I say, just increasing the player limit is hard. We are trying. We are making sure that the game supports more and more. Now we have servers that allow for 70 versus 70, which is fairly new. And we are researching ways to make them larger. On the short term, what we could do was make sure that the maps were integrated, so you could walk from one to another and things like that.
I do have something to add to that.
Yeah.
And I think it's going back to what I was saying earlier about Foxhole being a genre of games, one of many.
Yeah.
Foxhole, this version of Foxhole may never be
completely thousands versus thousands in one map.
I don't think it can right now without us doing work to make it function that way.
I
So
think we'd have to rebuild the game.
I think we have to rebuild.
Which is not to say we won't in the future. Who knows?
So I think that comes with this too. It's like Foxhole is a genre. If you are excited about it, you're along for the journey. So this game, let's say if we do add X number of people, that's still not the full version of the game.
Yeah.
The full version of the game is
almost infinite.
Helm's Deep and Lord of the Rings. Every single person in that battle is a real person.
Yeah.
This is what we want. We don't just want 200 versus 200 in a canned map. Like, that's so reductive.
Yeah.
It's like too small. Like, think bigger.
That's what we want.
We want bigger. We do want bigger. And and we're asking for patience. We need patience internally, and you guys need to be patient too, because this is new. There's nothing written online. I wish that we can just find like a book and be like, how to make online multiplayer games. It'd be amazing. So, yeah, Foxhole may be a very particular thing. It may have limitations, but the genre is something I'm very hopeful for.
And we are committed to trying our best to push the boundaries of all those limitations as far as we can and stretch them. So.
And still make it fun to play.
And still make it fun.
Because we can make it. Let's say we made it 200 versus 200, but it played like a potato.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the point?
What's the point? Who cares at that point?
Yeah. So, that being said, touch and feel, vehicles, guns, and uniforms. I know that's like kind of like the most requested feature. Oh, where are the new tanks and trucks and new machine guns with scoped sights and lasers? Like, well, lasers are not gonna show up, but we will add them in the future for sure. Again, as Matt said, it's not as hard as just rebuilding the whole game. So
it's a little bit easier to make.
To be fair, on the new updates, they're gonna be new. Like we are trying not to starve you guys out as well. So on the on the new updates, there will be new features, new toys for you guys to play with. It's not just internal technical parts. We are trying to, even if it's a little bit, we will always try to bring a little bit to you guys, so you guys don't always have something new to give a shot.
Absolutely. This next part of how can you help, I do want to address something about this. I think this is a very big question, because when we get feedback online, this is my perception of it, but when we get feedback online and people are positive, negative, whatever, when they give us feedback, I think they're protective of the game. They want it to be, they want it to be so good, and it's not, and they're like, oh, if they only saw the way I saw it.
It's like my goddamn truck went flying.
Like, or like, oh man, if they just listened to me, the game could be great. And I want to tell the people who are very interested in developing the game, because it is an alpha game, that you can help us. And there are very particular ways in which you can help us. And I'm going to kind of highlight those, and please interject at any point. But I think the biggest one is joining our Discord, being a part of that community, talking to people who are already talking. The discussion is going there. Jump in those discussions. Say what you need to say. Our mods and our community manager is listening. We read everything pretty much. We try to. 50,000 people is a lot now. But join the Discord. That's the primary way I think you can really help us. And then, secondary to that and serving that is joining the Steam forums and the Reddit discussions. They're a little bit more permanent, a little bit easier to read. So if you have a comment, you can like leave a Reddit post, and maybe it's a little bit easier to say a long-winded description or suggestion. But this last point here, this is what I want to really drive home. So I want you guys to be critical. And do you remember that slide at the beginning of the slideshow where we showed the chart? Those are the kind of the core tenets of the game. Co-op over solo play, player agency over player mastery, stuff like this. When you are making decisions, like think of those core tenets in the game. And when you're explaining the game, or when you're writing a suggestion, I think it's very important to compare it to what the game is and what it's supposed to be. It's never going to be a run and gun shooter in which it's like a little arena. It will be Foxhole. It has its own particular accents. So be critical, but help us understand why you think that suggestion would help the core tenet of the game. That's very important, I think. I mean, it's asking a lot, but I think that would help us a lot.
I think the most important thing, though, is that you express what you'd like to see changed, or what you'd like to see improved.
Yes.
Or what you don't want to change. That's
oh man, that'd be amazing.
Like what do you like about the game, and what don't you want us to touch? Because I think that's also really important too. But just know that we're listening. We listen to for all the people who've been around for 2 years. They know that they know that we're listening. But for new players, we listen to what you say, and we try to incorporate as best we can into the game that we're trying to make. Crazy Flying Chicken, he talks with all the community leaders on a regular basis. He's a fantastic community manager, and he listens and he puts all of that stuff forward into the dev team. What we miss, because so it's I think it's really important that you guys speak up.
Yeah, please. And I think the last thing, other than contacting KFC, is to be patient with us. The game development's really hard.
And we're a small team.
And we're a very small team, so yes, flamethrowers would be awesome. They would be awesome. And maybe there's a space for them in the game.
Yeah.
but I think we need to get the foundation there. We made a promise to people that we're going to be delivering an experience. That comes first.
Yes.
So we need your patience as well as, and thank you for understanding. Really.
Yeah, we appreciate. I know it's hard. I know you guys are just as excited, if not more, than we are. And the fact that you guys cannot actually put your hands in a game and make it so is hard.
It must be frustrating.
It must be frustrating. Exactly. It is frustrating when I see that in other games that I love, right? So we appreciate. We try to be very open on how development is. We're not making excuses as well. I just want to be clear and why we're not developing. Like we're just trying to be truthful to what it is. Yeah. But if you really wanna, if you really wanna put your hands like in the dough of the game, why don't you join the team? I know this is like we're actually hiring. We are hiring QA testers. If you are living in the Toronto area,
or in Canada and willing to relocate.
And willing to relocate, you've got to be in. Yeah, got to at least relocate to Canada and be Canadian for legal reasons. Hey, we are opening QA tester spots. If you're a programmer, like has experience, I'm gonna put the link in here on the bottom in YouTube. It's Foxhole.
Jobs at Foxhole Game?
No, foxhole.com/jobs. I think.
Yes. Okay.
Foxhole.com/jobs. But we are hiring for QAs, which is usually like something that a lot of people are interested in trying.
And this is a very important role at our company.
Oh, believe me, it is.
We need help with this. We need someone who's really like a system-oriented person who can really deal with a lot of like
and can write down what is going wrong in very specific and clear manner.
And imagine they knew what the game was too. Like
Yeah.
if they have an intimate knowledge of the game, my goodness, that would be such an asset to this position.
And there is precedent for us hiring a community member. Just
Oh,
out
yeah.
of curiosity.
Just if you guys don't know, I know he's right. Crazy Flying Chicken. He used to be a moderator, just like he was a player that loved our game. Has been helping like the community on his own time for the longest period of time. Has always been very front facing to the community, and because he was such a great guy, he was in Canada, so that helped a lot. Because otherwise, again, legal reasons, what can we do? We were able to hire him to be our community manager, and he's doing a fantastic job. And he will listen to everything that you guys throw his way. He will he will love that I'm saying that.
He's paid to say yes and sit there and take everything.
No, he's just a nice guy. That's what he is. And you guys get a chance to meet him in PAX. And if you guys are gonna want to meet him and you guys are gonna talk about this and the possibility of becoming a QA even during PAX, let Crazy Flying Chicken know. He will be more than happy to organize meetups with you guys. And we really are looking forward to that. Anyway, this has been going way too long.
Yeah, sure. All right, so what do we got left?
We have just the QA.
All right, so if we just got the QA left, we're gonna reserve a little bit of time for QA. So ask your questions. I saw a question asking about cheaters in Foxhole. Unfortunately, there's not too much that in our knowledge base about what will be done about that. But the one thing I will say is if you do encounter cheaters, please report them on Discord so that they can be properly...
There are some anti-cheat already in effect, actually. Like I saw some people saying that there was like absolutely no anti-cheat. There are some anti-cheat already in effect for like the most blatant things, like if you're running at the speed of light, like something like that, you will be caught and be put back. But it hasn't been a focus right now because anti-cheating, first of all, we cannot talk too much about it, because if you talk too much about it, people will find ways to actually go around it. Second of all, it's hard to put input measures when the game is not done and we're changing the systems all around. That also helps a little bit of the cheating because it's not as easy as if we are changing the system all around. It's something that will come up, but if right now, since we're in this kind of like murky stage, if you find something, as I said, talk directly to the moderators. We are usually very, very good at squashing anybody that's trying to cheat. And that is a bannable offense, by the way. That's if you are cheating and you're caught cheating blatantly, you'll be banned from the game, period. That's simple as that.
I can't quite read this. Apshivar? I can't read that name. It's too light. What about rockets?
Rockets, man.
What about rockets?
There are rockets coming. If you have if you've not been following the game, we have announced in previous dev streams that there's going to be a what is the official
Rocket facility.
The
rocket facility, which did Mark lay out how that was going to work?
Yeah, there's a dev post.
There's like a dev post. So check the website and
they're
see
coming.
how it's
Yeah.
going to work. So
We're very excited about
there'll be rockets. It's going to work like it's going to be like a world structure that you have to capture and build. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be sweet.
Regarding toys, it's from Achilles. Any plans for quality of life updates for logistics side? I think the community agrees with me that logistics is highly neglected.
Yes.
Logistics is a high priority for us. It's not neglected, but we understand that it might be over encumbered in many aspects. And this is actually one of the main things that we are discussing right now, and like how will the changes that we're making to the whole like one world concept work with logistics.
I think it's important too that like since Conquest is in, like the game is kind of different, so logistics is scaled and spread thin. So now we need to figure out where they fit in and how do we best serve them. But yes, I think it's something we're interested in.
And just so you know, as a like what is important in our game, some games support is much lower and like the DPS or whatever is much higher. And in our game, the support is the logistics to the DPS, which is the people fighting in the front lines. And we agree that logistics is just as important, if not a tad bit more, for what our tenants are. So we are very, very careful when we make changes. We are looking into this. We absolutely want quality of life for the poor logistic guys. Thank you.
The Flying Flail asks, will we be able to just salvage destroyed vehicles on the battlefield for a small return on scrap and fuel to encourage scavenging from wrecks? So what's funny about this is the very first time I destroyed a vehicle, this was the first thing I thought. And I think it's definitely something in the works. It's one of those, that's a real like polished and quality of life sort of like feature. I'm not going to say like it's entirely just like polished because it is a bit of a feature, but I wouldn't say like no to that. I just am not going to say that we're definitely.
It would definitely be cool.
It'd be cool. Like it's not something out of the wheelhouse. I think it like plays into the world of Foxhole.
The easiest way would let's say like a simple, not easiest way to implement, but like a simple idea is just like every time you destroy a vehicle, like a little scrap pile stays there.
It spawns into like something. Yeah.
It's doable.
It's definitely something.
It's not as nice.
You should know a little bit about this. Let me ask, what plans do you have for character leveling, personal tech tree, crafting speed, etc., etc.?
Well, we craft like personal characters. We are always very careful. We don't want you to be able to do like to be a god just because you've been playing more time for a longer period than other player. We want everything that you know about the game and how you play the game. You get better because you get more used to it. Like humans don't get ridiculously fast speed because they have been playing the game for a long period of time. So every change that we make for character progression is gonna come more in the shape of you understanding the systems. That being said, we do have ideas on how to have different equipment that might change. Let's say if you have a vest, a bulletproof vest, allows you to take more damage, but you're slower. So the trade-offs in that way, that is the kind of progression that we're looking for, so that as you progress through the game and you get more equipment, that might help you in that way. That is one way.
I do have, I'm currently working on outfits. How do they fit in the world of Foxhole? We're concepting different things. And one of the big things I focus on, and these guys have heard this a million times, is clarity. Like, how clear does everything need to be in the world of Foxhole? Depending on the game, clarity of knowing who your support is, who your TPS is, whatever, that needs to be paramount.
Yeah.
In Foxhole, we're trying to figure out how far we can go with this. But one thing I'm really excited about is this idea that, as you play the game, perhaps you progress and you can unlock, just ideas, but you can unlock like the medic uniform, but maybe there's a few variants so you can like customize your character a bit and then stand out in the world, and that kind of gives you an advantage. And
so and also people will know you're a medic, and if they are following the rules of war, usually people don't shoot medics. Then again, there are no rules for that.
Yeah. But you could be a medic to throw people off and have an RPG.
Yeah. So
it's not
I
to
think
say.
it's like
But we don't want people to become a medic because they picked
medic,
points
yeah.
on the medic class. We
Yeah.
want people to become a medic because they
want-
picked up the band-aids and the first aid kit and decided that that's what they want to do the game. And if at any point you find those equipments, you can do it. We don't want you to be gated by an artificial class system or anything like that.
The next question, I think, should be a pretty easy one for us to answer. Are you reading Steam reviews? If yes, what do you think about them, and what do you think about reviews in general?
Yeah, we do. We read them. We don't respond to the majority of the Steam reviews unless it's something, of course, like the moderators will take away like sexist or homophobic comments or things like that, or hateful speech in any way. But we are more than open to read. We read just as much the negatives and the positives. And Adam touched on this point. Like we know that every time that somebody posts a negative review, it's like, oh, sometimes there was this interesting reviews like, oh, these guys are paying. That was a great one. It was like, these guys are paying. We're creating Steam accounts level 0 to post reviews or something like that, and we laughed because it was sure you hate the games, therefore you're seeing something that like you're trying to understand why some other people like the game, but that's fair. If you don't like the game, that's great. Like the game is not for everybody.
And we don't have enough time to create a bunch of dumb
Yeah, like we have more stuff. But we read the reviews. The negative ones are particularly useful if they show like a part that's like, oh, I hated the fact that when you're like the queues are gigantic. What is the point of buying the game? I saw a review like it was like, oh, I bought the game and I waited 30 minutes in line. Like this is bullshit. That was the review. It's like that's a fair review. Like it means that there's something wrong with the queues. Then we're gonna have to address. My first thought is like, well, maybe you could enter a different region. But then I thought about it. Like, no, like the guy's trying to play that region because that's what he want to do. So there's got to be something that we have to do. So we do read the negative ones just as they read the positive ones.
I do have something to say on that. A lot of new people come into the game, and I think their experience with other games are developers are pretty hands off, or they do things in a very particular way. We as a company, I think, really pride ourselves on like being a part of the community. I really want to be a part of the community. We all do.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a little bit of trust that needs to be earned. Like you need to earn our. How do I say this? They need to learn to trust us.
And the other way around,
vice versa.
and we need to earn their trust. Like we need to do actions and get the game better and better, so that they trust us that we're not gonna leave the game in a poor state as they're in finding them right now. I think that's something that differentiates. I think that's a huge part of why I would like to believe that the reason why we have players that have been playing the game for years and decided to spend their time creating art and become moderators and still play the game up to this day is because we earn their trust. We show that we're trying our best and we're not their cries are not going to deaf ears.
And also vice versa, because those people really understand the game too. So when they say, "Hey, this is really destroying like what Foxhole is,"
Yeah, but the onus is on us.
It's always
the
on us.
onus is on
We're
us.
responsible.
We're responsible for it, of course. So yes, we do read them, and it's important. I truly believe the negative reviews are also important.
Edge Skira asks, what will happen in the future about and against griefing from friendlies? Reporting and kicking is too reactive. Will there be some preventative measures incoming? I'm just going to kind of say off the top, we're always trying to improve our player reporting stuff, and I think there's a lot of room to grow. The thing is like, the thing that I think about a lot in regards to this is like, there are a few games in such an open space that require teamwork, and it's really hard to know always like how far to go in one direction or the other. So we're always pushing and trying new things and adding new things and reacting to what the needs and demands of the community are.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that. Let's say one thing is like, oh, why is there friendly fire? Well, wouldn't that like already prevent a lot of griefing if you? Or why can't we have our own locked bases so that people can't steal my mats? Sure, that is a possibility that it does lower the griefing, but on the other hand, it also lowers the amount of team play that exists. We had actually like locked boxes before, and what we saw is that people became very possessive with their own stuff, and they would never work together with the team. So we have to force our hands a little bit on one side. Could we take away friendly fire? We could, but I think there's an integral part of the game, of the experience of you being in the front lines. And even by mistake, somebody might throw a grenade and kill you. That is important.
Your positioning in a combat scenario is just as important as the logistics. Like if when we talk about a team game, it's also just like formation. Formation in the military is like extremely important. So if you take away friendly fire, everybody could just literally be standing in a line and shoot through each other, and that's just not the same. Experience.
So to bring it back to the griefing topic in particular, there are measures that we can do, and we are always very careful to not be too heavy-handed in one way or another, because one small thing might have a huge repercussion on the way of how the rest of the whole community plays the game. That's why sometimes with griefing in particular, you guys might think that we are like a little bit slow, but the fact is that we have to discuss a lot about anti-griefing measures. We are always discussing a lot, because every time we see somebody having a bad experience in our game, I don't know, like personally it hurts me. It's like, like this game that I've been that I love, that I've been working for like 2 years, somebody hated their experience because somebody else was being
a jerk.
Yeah, I was going to use a different word, but that's a pretty good one. We just talk a lot about griefing. We had more measurements. We're always trying to make sure our report system is getting better and better and better. And if you guys have ideas, we are open. We do implement ideas from players all the time. So send suggestions in the suggestion channels. The mods log them, and we do read them.
I'm going to take one more question from iOracle Gaming, and this is something that has come up a little bit frequently.
Okay.
I just want to kind of answer it for new players. I've also never seen the name iOracle Gaming before, so I'm assuming they're new. Will we see expanded naval combat, new boats, specialized weapons, a big lake? So we actually took a deep dive, no pun intended, on naval combat at some point. And Farnaut Coast used to be a really different map for anybody who wasn't around before the latest update. And they used to have like almost required beach landings in order to do anything. And we actually stepped away from that a bit to get back to the core of the game, which was the one world. And now naval combat is not so vital anymore, especially the maps are oriented east-west, coast-to-coast, so you don't see a lot of north-south movement, like on the water, which, that's something that I know Crazy Flying Chicken's really passionate about, I'm very passionate about, and I know that eventually we will bring naval combat back into a bit of a focus and figure out where it fits. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. It will happen,
It hasn't been abandoned.
It hasn't been abandoned, it's there.
But it's in a pause.
But we're not going to expand on it, I don't think, anytime too soon.
Can I ask a question to the community?
Yeah, sure.
If you guys want more behind the scenes stuff, or more like Q&A things, like please let us know too, and how we can evolve how we approach the community. Because we were talking the other day, it's like, I wish we could just film our conversations, like sometimes. Let us know what you want too. If you really have more questions, you like this kind of roundtable approach, maybe we can discuss things like that. Because I'm excited about doing more with the community.
Maybe just a single Q&A.
One last question. One last goof question from Sir. What's your favorite drink, beer, liquor, etc.?
Yes.
Caipirinhas.
Oh.
Caipirinhas are delicious.
I'm a big fan of beer. A lager. Nice lager.
What's your favorite beer? If you had to pick one.
Favorite beer? Come on.
The one in front of you.
The one in front. Nothing like, I don't like sour beers, and I don't like fruity beers.
Oh, I don't drink beer.
Oh,
yeah, I drink liquors, but I don't drink beer.
Is this for PAX? Because if you want to get me a bunch of beer.
If you want to send things in my way.
Yeah. No, I'm really into dark and stormies right now, like the rum and ginger beer.
Oh, that's really good.
It's tasty.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, they're good. Matt,
my favorite beer is Kronenberg 1664.
The wheat one?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think I really like wine.
Yeah, wine's great. Yeah.
Wine is very good.
We're alcoholics.
No, we're not. We're not. Anyway, guys, thank you very, very much Oh, sorry.
I was
You
just
want
gonna
to do the
say,
end?
no, go ahead, do your thing, you know.
Thank you very much for joining us. If you guys missed this dev stream on Twitch, it happens every other Tuesday at 2 p.m. EST. It also goes on YouTube with like nice edits. I am HB, this is Matt, this is Adam. If you are watching this on YouTube, please catch us on Twitch so you can actually ask questions. And all the links of the things that we discussed today, the winners of the contest, the community highlights that are going to be coming probably not this week, maybe the next one because of the contest. They're going to be in the description, and check the dev blog and join our Discord, because that's where you guys can keep in touch with us, can actually bug us and like send messages. We might not answer right away, but we try to answer to people that ask us nice questions. If they ask nicely.
Don't harass us. Please don't.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
Also,
Yeah,
PAX.
PAX, yeah, that's a good one.